Hello and welcome to Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. We are on number 8, which is pretty cool as the response has been nice. And I just appreciate everyone sharing and listening to these podcasts as I will continue to do so. As the goal is really to put out information, and if you know my tagline, the truth, that's all I'm trying to do. You know, the truth of basically my experiences for over 25 years being involved in bodybuilding, coaching, promoting shows, and just working with people of all sorts has really given me a lot of experience. And I just like to talk into a microphone now and hoping that someone will learn something from these podcasts. About a week or so ago, I did a post on Facebook looking for top fives, what people would like to hear or learn about. I did one last week, the top 5 reasons to hire a coach, and also combined that with, what to look for when you hire a coach. So now I'm going to talk about and dive into the whole bodybuilding scene a little bit more. And I'm going to go into specifics as far as this top 5, but it's actually going to be top 6 because I made a little checklist, and then I'm just going to go off of the 6 points. And it's going to be the top 6 mistakes people make when they decide to compete in a bodybuilding show. There's probably more, but I thought these 6 were important and just enough I can talk about and get my point. Whereas probably each of them I can spend 15, 20 minutes on. But again, my goal, as you know, is not to ramble on too much. So when I say bodybuilding mistakes or bodybuilding competition mistakes, that covers all the divisions. I'm not just saying one division per se, but just all of them. So let's get on with the list. And the first one can basically blanket, and that can be a whole podcast on itself. But the first mistake that I see is people not giving themselves enough time. Again, we get excited. We want to compete. We hit that 12-week mark, and then we think the magic is going to happen, meaning that that's when you're starting your diet, or you may change your workout thinking, something's going to happen. You're going to gain muscle. Well, really at that point, when you're 12 weeks out, it's all about maintaining muscle and getting as lean as you can. Obviously, division dependent. If you're a bikini competitor, 12 weeks could be enough time. But it really depends on where your starting point is. So I don't know where your starting point is. So I have a thing with my clients. They may hire me and they may think about competing in a year or so. They're making great progress, say, after 6 months. And they're like, all right, Joe, when are we going to start the prep? Because, I think I'm ready to compete and your feedback's been great. And I said, well, you have been prepping. So you see what I did there? The day that you decide to take the journey to better yourself, to build your physique, is when you started your prep. You might not be killing yourself with a diet, but you're doing everything to set yourself up so you won't be killing yourself. That is the goal. Give yourself enough time. If you think all you need is 12 weeks, I would say add 2 months to that, and that should be suffice to make your goal. Now, I get it. More time, it's relative, because if you're a younger competitor, no matter what you do, you know that you're going to continue to get better even after you compete. And for example, and I brought this up in a podcast before, most competitors in shows are first time ever stepping on the stage. So the feedback they're going to get is usually simple, saying you got to build more muscle, you need to be leaner, or maybe they have, their symmetry is not the greatest. But what is going to help that is just simply giving the body more time in the gym over days, months, years, and that's what's going to make the big difference. But if you're going to take that step to compete, just don't think to wait until you are 12 weeks out. All right, number 2. And this one is more up to par with today's society. The number 2 mistake is paying attention to others. We see that a lot because of all the social media outlets. You see people posting their progress pictures, how things are going for them. And as a competitor, you get psyched out. You may think, you may hear the same person's doing the same show as you and they look great. Well, when you pay attention to someone else, you're forgetting the main reason why you should be doing this. It's you versus you. There's no point to it. Who knows what kind of filter they are using or bathroom lighting. And I give you, this prime example just hit me in the head. A couple years ago, a client of mine, figure competitor, very successful, she was doing a show, an NPC show, where she was taking the risk of going up against those who are using drugs, and she's a drug-free figure competitor. And she was showing me pictures of someone that's doing the same show. And I looked at him. I'm like, yeah, she looks good. She looks pretty big, but, there's definitely weird shadows. And who knows how many times she took that picture to make it look good and make it presentable on Instagram. I said, don't worry about it. Who knows? Maybe she'll screw up peak week because sometimes, if you're using drugs, you're going to do crazier things thinking that you have to. Long story short, this woman, my client, beat the other woman, and she was just big and heavy and not conditioned at all, and she looked better in her Instagram pictures. So you see where I'm going? I mean, that's just one example, but don't worry about anyone else. The beauty of bodybuilding and competing is that you own it. It's all you. When I competed many years ago, there was no social media. We trained in the shadows. We focused on ourselves, and that was it. And that's the way it should be, because the more secure you are in yourself, the more success you're going to have. So number 2 is paying attention to others, which you just stop doing. Number 3, again, something that I see with first-timers or people that are panicking or they don't give themselves enough time. But the third mistake is when people change their diet all too often. They won't give a change long enough. They will read blogs, watch videos, get different ideas. So they're like, oh, I should do this. No, I should drop my carbs to this. I should do this much cardio. I should go to keto now because I'm stuck. I should do HIIT cardio because the steady state's not working. Too many changes, how are you going to learn? The whole idea is you're learning about your body during a contest prep. You're learning about the journey, what is best for you. But if you change it every week or every few days, which I've seen clients wanting to do, and I try to convince them saying, no, let it ride. Let the body, let's see what happens. And most often than not, that change just needs a little bit more time so we can learn what is best for your body. And typically, those who are often changing their diet or changing their workout regimen aren't giving themselves enough time. Number 4, okay, is when people are simply overdoing it. They over-examine things. They panic. And when you do that, you're going to increase cortisol levels. And cortisol levels are an enemy when it comes to losing body fat because it can have a great effect on the metabolism and slow things down. So when you overdo things, you do too much cardio too soon, when you cut your calories too soon, you are risking metabolic damage. And that becomes more dangerous if you are lucky enough to pull through the contest prep, because most likely you're going to bounce back and have a terrible rebound and gain more weight than what you started off. So going back to number 1, I warned you guys about this, not enough time. If you give yourself enough time, you don't have to worry about overdoing it. You can give those changes the time needed and not worry about going overboard too soon. Sure, a more advanced competitor can be pushed harder and can be tested a little bit more because they have a better idea of their physique. They're just more in tuned. So give yourself that time so you don't have to overdo it. Number 5, and this one's one that's easily fixable. And it's not so much when it comes to the diet or the workouts, but is pay attention to your posing and your tanning. Tanning should be a no-brainer. Most shows have competent tanners and they will take care of you. But do your research. Pick the tanner's brain. Ask them questions. Listen to their instructions on how to prepare the skin. Because if you do tanning on your own, you're taking a risk of it not looking good, not being dark enough, maybe turning green. So that's it for the tanning. Make sure your tan is as good as possible and get a trustworthy tanner. Now, posing. This one really gets my goat going. As you may know, I do promote the shows. I have posing classes. And still, I see people on stage not having a clue how to pose. It's a big mistake because you can drop a placement. I have these classes to help prepare people. I love it when people come to these classes and then I get the feedback and they show me pictures of their shows that they're doing and they're nailing it. I've seen shows where I judge, where you may have a great physique and they don't know how to hold their poses. They don't have the endurance, the conditioning, the stamina, or they have the wrong body angle. And guess what? Someone of equal physique is going to beat them. So don't give the judges a reason to knock you down. So that's where tanning and posing are critical because they're easy fixes. When you decide to do a show, that's when you should learn how to pose. I'm not telling you have to do it hours a week, but when you are starting your diet, learn how to pose. Put your body in the right position. That could be another podcast. But find a good coach, because the problem is if you're trying to learn how to pose on YouTube, they don't see you. They're not looking back at you to correct you, to put your body in the right position, because we all have different structures. So posing is something that can be easily fixed, but it can easily ruin your contest experience and especially your show day, because if you don't know how to pose properly or if you're not holding it, it can knock you down and give the judges a reason not to score you up. Last but not least, okay, well, let me go over the top 5 again, and then I'll go into the 6th one, which is like a bonus one. The first one is not enough time. Just give yourself time. Prepare, educate yourself. Don't get too fat. Don't think miracles are going to happen in 12 weeks. Number 2, paying attention to others. If you are, stop it, because it's not going to benefit you anyway. Changing the diet too often is number 3. When you give yourself enough time, you don't have to do radical changes and learn to let the body adjust. Number 4 is overdoing it. Again, goes with the whole timing thing as far as giving yourself plenty of weeks to get ready, because you don't want to have to overdo it. Maybe the last few weeks when you're really in tune, you can give yourself that push. And the 5th mistake people make is the posing, the tanning, easy fixes. It's all about preparation. So number 6, what could number 6 be? Number 6, to me, and the biggest mistake, and you'll see it even with well-experienced competitors, is that you compete for all the wrong reasons. Back in my day, we competed because it was a way of showing off our results, our dedication in the gym, our grind in the gym. And then that show day was the cherry on top of the sundae and the celebration and hoping that we can win and kick some ass. That's what competing was all about, and I still think that's what it should be about. But going back to the whole social media thing, and I hate to say it and I see it, sometimes people compete so they can have pictures for social media. They're competing so they say they are competing. Well, you're doing it for yourself. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. It's not about how many trophies you get that you can show off. Yeah, I get it. You want to win. You get to a point that you do want to do really well, but you also have to understand you can't control the outcome. Even though you worked your ass off, you look your best, because you don't know who else is going to show up. So compete for the right reasons. Compete because you have the love for the sport. You have the love to train. You love the challenge. But don't do it because you love to get the attention. That's where things have really changed over the years. Don't compete because you have the love to get that bonus code. Compete because you can put yourself in a positive mind frame that's going to benefit your life beyond competing. You're going to learn a lot when you do compete. You're going to learn a lot about your character, about yourself. To me, it's like once you start taking the step to competing and you're doing it for the right reasons, it's going to benefit your life. Yeah, maybe not during the last few weeks if you're hungry and you're, on edge, but you're going to appreciate life around you that much more. But don't go for the idea that if I compete, I'm going to build up my portfolio and just more, showing off on the gram. I don't know. That's my old school attitude. So let's see how many minutes I'm in for this podcast. All right. Around the 16-minute mark. So that's going to wrap up this one. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. The top 6 mistakes people make when they decide to compete. I'm sure I left out a few things, and I can go on and on. But again, I don't want to carry on with these podcasts because I want to keep them interesting and just get my point across. I do have another top 5 on board, but I'm not going to let you know what it is, and I'm going to try to get it out sooner than later. And I have a few more ideas that I'm going to definitely hit up. But again, for any listener out there, you want to hear a question answered, or if you have any podcast ideas, please feel free to reach out, fitfranco@verizon.net. If you're interested in learning about more what I can do for coaching, teamfrancobodybuilding.com. And have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon, and thanks for listening.